welcome to the webinar. Gopi. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Shika, for having me.
So now I'll come to our panelists, Mr. Vaibhav Dalvi and Mr. Vinod Honmute. So Vaibhav Dalvi is the Senior General Manager and heads IP Department at Wellspun Group. Wellspun Group has diversified business of home textiles, pipes, steels, infrastructure and investment. Vaibhav has set up IP department for Wellspun. Vaibhav is a registered patent and trademark agent. He has 14 years of rich experience in the field of IP. Welcome to the webinar, Vaibhav. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Shika. Thank you, Great Logic, for having me.
It's our pleasure, Vaibhav. So coming to our next panelist, Mr. Vinod. Mr. Vinod Honmute is a head knowledge management at Aarti Industries Limited. He has rich experience of 4 years in synthesis and 11 years of experience in IP. And he holds several positions in IP. He carries expertise in chemical domain of IP in the areas of patent drafting and prosecution worldwide. He has in-depth knowledge of FTO or infringement analysis as well. So welcome to the webinar, Vinod.
Thank you, Shika. Thank you, Tushar, and Vaibhav and Govind.
Great to have you.
And welcoming. Thank you.
Great. So I guess we are good to go now.
All right. Thank you, Shika. Thank you, Grid Logic, for having me. I'm really happy to host Vaibhav and Vinod in this session. I'll be the moderator. So before we start, I want a quick check that if everyone is present here and they have not really just logged in and do something. So can everyone type I'm here in the chat box, please? Whosoever is listening to me, at least type I'm here.
At least say hi.
Great. Thank you so much for registering your presence. So now it really helps us to be in the energy space of sharing, and it really helps us as a speaker. It's of course very hard in terms of presenting the webinar. Always we are more accustomed to do it on the physical webinar, which PatSeer has been organizing for so long. So I'll without further ado, I'll quickly share my screen and let's go from there. So now today, as Shika has said, our topic for today is uncover your competitor's IP strategy. I'll be the panelist, and it is my pleasure to host Vaibhav, who works with Wellspun and looks after their IP, and Vinod, who looks after Aarti Industries IP in the chemical domain. So very, very important two areas, chemical and textiles, where, it would be great to hear, how it is that they really uncover their IP strategy, competitors' IP strategy, and devise their own. So thank you, Vaibhav and Vinod, for being here. Let me set a quick agenda for today. So agenda for today is, as I said, to discuss uncovering competitors' IP strategy, but let's quickly define what we mean by competitor. Competitor means from the industry or from the outside industry and the new entrants. And then the strategy is a plan or action designed to achieve a long-term goal or overall aim. So what we will try to discuss today is how in the in-house scenario, how much competition influence companies' IP strategy, what aspects of the IP strategy are important for you, how do you typically find these aspects, challenges and uncovering your competitive IP strategy. So that's going to be the agenda for today. We want to keep it fairly interactive, so please type in your question on the chat box, especially at the end of the sections, so that we can take up in the relevant discussions. And it would be really great if we can make it more interactive and also share your opinions and knowledge around these topics. So I'll hand over to Vinod. Vinod, how much competition influence your IP strategy in terms of plans, decision, and operations?
Yeah. To start with, thank you, Govind, and others. Whoever have questions, please direct to whom you are asking, or else we can then take up the questions appropriately. So the question now here we are trying to cover is how much competition influence companies' IP strategy. So these are some of the points which I have collated through my experience, past experience. So firstly, to understand how this influences the company, one has to understand what business you are in or your company is in. So accordingly, your business strategy will already be in place. And then if that business strategy to that IP strategy is aligned, so it can broadly be falling into one of the three categories. Like it may have innovator approach where you operate as a innovator and you are not following anybody else's. And then there can be IP strategy or business strategy where you follow some innovator company. And then there is a generic market wherein you work on expired patent application. So out of these three approaches of your business decides your IP strategy. So first and foremost, fast follower approach I think is at high risk because there are many players in that market. And many players jump on the innovation that is being generated by the innovator. And these fast follower people, they try to fill the gaps, try to take a pie which is left by the innovator or might have been abruptly missed out by the innovator in their patent application. One of such example I could give is DuPont's patent strategy with respect to diamide insecticides. Wherein they were the innovator for Ridaxipyr, insecticide diamide molecule, but they missed out on some very small functional groups, small alkylating groups, and that gap was then cashed up by the ISK, Japanese company, and then they also have a different product which is competing with the DuPont's one. So this approach works, provided it is always at the risk of having a smaller share to the innovation. And also the criteria difficulty in working in this approach is 18 months publication. You never know which application will come when and what will be gone out of your plate and what will be coming on your plate. So that's the difficulty in this area. So plan for this one would be maybe this presentation, Govind, this presentation somehow changed here. Hemant is presenting here.
Just a second. Oops, sorry about that. Just a second. I'll get back to the presentation. Sorry about that. I think someone has mistakenly shared their screen. So yeah. Is it better now? Is it coming?
Yeah, it's loading. We shall wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is there. So to mitigate the risk factors that are associated with the fast follower approach, and many companies in India are approaching or working on this approach. So the key aspect here would be to freeze earliest priority date, and to achieve that there has to be a quite enormous correlation and collaboration, and all departments should be aligned efficiently to achieve and freeze the priority date of a patent application. So this innovator approach is likely to be at a lower risk when you influencing, but then there's an indirect impact that if you fail, your entire investment into the project fails. So sometimes that risk is taken by business management, but when that risk is there, one has to keep filing various provisional applications and keep on abandoning those applications if at all there's a way to find out that no other application has been published. By this way, mind here, by this way, we cannot completely negate the impact of the competition, but else to certain extent that limitation can be brought, risk can be limited here by filing applications and periodically abandoning them. So this generic approach, basically the strategy, IP strategy for the generic companies would be that they need to seek for FTO all the time and ensure that they are not infringing somebody else's intellectual property. Yeah. So with this, I may leave it to Weber for his thoughts. Weber, you can take it forward.
Thank you, Vinod. Govind, can you just press the next slide, please? Govind?
Yeah.
Hi, Govind. Yeah, good. I'll just set the context. How to stay competitive? There's a very famous saying that know thyself, know thy competitor, get it right all the time. Know thyself, not know the competition, get it right half the time. Not know thyself, not know thy competition, get it wrong all the time. So it is very important in today's time that we should be competitive by knowing ourselves and knowing our competition. We are moving from Industry 3.0 to Industry 4.0. With this transition, the business model is changing drastically. And if you see, the competition is also changing with respect to that we are not facing competition in our own core industry. We are facing our competition outside the industry also. And second factor is the disruptive invention. Disruptive invention is completely changing the ball game, the industry, what we are running into. Go ahead, next slide, please.
Yeah. It will load in a minute.
Right. So, if you take the example of Blockbuster, it was founded in 1985. Blockbuster, I believe millennials will not know about it, but our generation would be able to correlate with Blockbuster. Blockbuster is one of the most iconic brand for video rental place, where everybody wanted to go to Blockbuster, pick up new movies and play at their own place. In 2000, this is very interesting. In 2000, Netflix approached Blockbuster and asked them to acquire them. Blockbuster at that point in time did not think that Netflix could be their potential competition. They did not look at Netflix as their threat. What happened in 2010? Blockbuster has to declare bankruptcy because they were unable to cope up with the digital media. So this is how the competition and the game is changing. Next slide, please. Go in. So you want to devise your IP strategy and keeping competition in mind, you have to ask whether is your IP infringed. Reason we are having our intellectual property is to monetize from it. So first thing, whether you want to see whether even a small part of my independent claim has been used by my competitor. That will help me. Whether my brand name is deceptively similar with my competitor's brand name. So that's something which we'll have to look at it. Now, second question, if there's a new product launched in the market, should I change my patenting model? Is that person looking at evergreening or should I look at out licensing? With new product or new design in the market, does it make sense that with my own product, should I go with the utility model or design patent? When you see your competitor's branding, you have to see whether today's branding and your branding. When you look at your branding, that comes in the picture is your trademark. Should I copyright my trademark? This is very important that whether should we copyright or not. When you file trademark infringement, if you want to conduct a raid, you have to take trademark registrar's opinion that whether the trademarks are similar or not. That's going to take a lot of time. But under Copyright Act, you have to just show that you have a copyright. You go to Superintendent of Police and get the raid conducted. So these are key factors where you can keep in mind if you want to file for copyright. And the last point is whether you want to keep it as a trade secret, like Coca-Cola, that your application will go forever. It will not die after 20 years. So these are certain strategy you can influence with yourself. Next slide, please go in.
Just a second.
Yeah, just load. So we all know Nokia. Nokia telephone or mobile phone was the leader in India. Means there was a time everybody knew only Nokia and their handset, which would go for 3 days, like with one charging. What happened with Nokia? They rejected Android, and then Android was the biggest competition, which led them to go out of the business. In some time, Microsoft tried to acquire Nokia, rebrand it, re-entered the market, but they failed. What happened? Which HMD Global, they took the rights to exclusively manufacture the Nokia mobile phones. What they did, they understood the competition. They saw there is a gap with the smartphone users. They recognized consumer wants. They understood what the consumers are looking at, and also they had a strategic IP property, in place, and which played the key role with Nokia. And now, if you see, Nokia, like everybody was thinking Nokia is dead, but now see Nokia is back in the market. Next slide, Govind.
Yep.
Yeah. BlackBerry. There was a time, if you are a businessman or corporate guy, you have to have a BlackBerry phone. BlackBerry is one of the pioneers who started BBM service, the instant messaging services. But BlackBerry is no longer making smartphones. They instantly became outdated. They couldn't do that transition. Now, BlackBerry in 2019, they sold their profit. Their share prices went from like 40% increase. How that happened? They're not selling microphones. They're not selling the phones. What they did, instead of selling software, they moved to software. They started selling software. Another area they went into, cyber security and Internet of Things. So do you see the transition? The company, if you understand you're not able to perform this area, with your strategic IP, you move into the area which you have expertise into. Govind?
Yep.
Favorite example is Walmart. I love the leaders who like to, when they take efforts to the way they want to stay leaders. Walmart did not wait for a number of years to look at how e-commerce is going to function. In mid-90s, they decided to jump into e-commerce platform, and today they have a robust e-commerce platform. There are so many leaders, and Walmart is also one of the biggest leaders, having retail chain as well as the e-commerce platform. So having said that, these are my thoughts that how competition can influence our IP strategy. If we have a robust IP strategy, then we can be the part of game. Not necessarily we have to fade away. And these are my thoughts, Govind. What do you think that what should the IP strategy?
Sure. Thank you, Vaibhav. So I'll try to summarize what Vinod and Vaibhav you have said, that basically the influence of the competitor's IP on the company's IP strategy is usually on finding IPR to find a competitive edge, threat or defend using IPR for competitive edge, IPR to collaborate, adapting to the business environment, like Vaibhav shared around how people have changed their business model, and also using IPRs to collaborate. I think Android is a classic example where Microsoft actually made a lot of money using their IP strategy, and of course building credibility in the market. So as far as I have seen in my experience, that a lot of times these factors are really the one which influences companies' IP strategy in that ways. Now, we will move to the next section. So, how is it going so far? I would like to ask if there is any question. Is it valuable so far? If it is yes, just type it yes so that we can move forward. Or if any questions so far, we'll be happy to answer and take it right away. But if it is valuable, if it is going well, just type it yes so that we know that you are engaged, you are here, and things are going well. Come on, guys. We have all the evening, so you have to type it yes. At least some of you. Okay. Great. Thank you so much. So now, Vinod, what we want to understand from your perspective that, now we have understood how much competitive IP strategy influences your company's IP strategy, but what aspects of competitive IP strategy is more important for you?
Yeah, before going to this, there was a question from Amlan Chakravarti. Probably you missed on that. He is asking the question, can you please tell the third strategy?
Course of our discussion, we will discuss about the collaboration.
Yep.
So we can
Okay. All right. Vinod, I think you go ahead and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Right. Govind.
Yep.
Yeah. So in my opinion, there are certain things which will, which is important to us, is that detecting competitive threat.
Yep.
Now, for example, you have your service providers and you receive your email from the service provider that your competitor's trademark has been published in a country with the same class and the identical set of goods. Now, when the trademark is published, you understand that your competitor has intention to enter into that area. So you have detected the competitive threat well in advance with the help of your service provider. Now, assuming that trademark is been filed as a proposed to be used basis, so it gives you added advantage that your competitor has not already filed, started selling this product in that particular country. Now, with this information, and if you have the market intel, and if you observe the behavior of your competitor, then you will understand maybe in this particular quarter, your competitor is likely to launch a new product in that new particular country. So the element of surprise has been eliminated, or at least it's been lessened. Then how do you take enhances, how will you, since you have this, like in particular quarter, he's going to launch a new product, then you have that lead time that you can prepare yourself, and then his surprise element, you can introduce your own product, and then his surprise element can be eliminated. Now, this is things so far trademark is concerned, which Vinod rightly mentioned in the beginning, finding new opportunity. If I want to launch a new product in a country, but I'm not able to do so because there's an existing valid enforceable patent of my competitor, I'm not able to enter that country. But if I know that the patent will be expired on so and so date, then I can prepare myself. I'm ready for the new opportunity in that new country. So this is how it will help me to create my, with the help of this competition, like when I have a keep track of it. Stay ahead of the disruptive innovation and exploit disruptive innovation. Who doesn't want to exploit a disruptive innovation? It is very important. When you want to exploit disruptive innovation, if you're not going out of the industry, it's like a sailing a boat. If you know you go with the winds of the direction, if you're not going further, at least you're not going backward. So this is, you have to keep in mind and strategize your work that stay at the disruptive innovation and exploit the innovations at the same time. Next slide, go in please.
Yep. It will load in a minute.
Yeah. So the example is Amazon. They're one of the largest online retailer. They understood their competition. They have acquired, by June 2020, they have made acquisition of 102 companies. They can set the route in a digital commerce. They are the leaders. Now, they harvest sales and product data from their marketplace, and they understand which is the hot selling items, and they sell it on their own website at a lower price. Next slide, please go ahead. Facebook has done like what they are doing, say Cambridge Analytica. They're able to influence not only the people, also the government. They did a strategic acquisition of WhatsApp, Instagram. The news says that it's a greatest competition exit within itself. Now, actually, it's very interesting that US lawmakers, they're planning to take actions against Amazon and Facebook. This is that they're creating a monopoly. They have become a monopolist and they have become a leader. But one thing you have to learn from Facebook, Amazon, for example, Apple or Google, that becomes so powerful that your competition becomes your allies. So when like someone asks the question that IPR for collaboration, this is how we collaborate. Next slide. Then what I would like to, in a nutshell, this is we want to take from this, these aspects we want to enforce in our own individual IP strategy. These are my thoughts. Vinod, would you like to add something on this?
So, sorry to interrupt, Vaibhav. We have a question for you from Shailesh Podar. How you identify disruptive innovation?
Disruptive innovations, the thing about disruptive innovations is that you don't identify them at the moment when they're out, they're there. There another aspect of disruptive innovation, it follows a certain a certain graph. When they are there, you go into shock. You go into shock, and then you go into denial that yes, it does exist. Then you come into adaptability that okay, we have to go with it. When you go with this, and then you implement it. Take the example of Netflix. People were not willing to, they did not find this, rented digital media. Take the example of Amazon. People said, I'm not getting that, the friendly experience that which I go out and buy things from my marketplace. I don't get that, personal feel. But now in today's time, like you don't find it anywhere else, you find it on Amazon. So this is in the trend is you go into shock that certain such things are in place, then you're going to deny, no, I don't want it, go into acceptance. So this is the change for disruptive innovations. I hope that question has been answered.
I think the book question was more on how we can basically identify it.
I couldn't get the question.
So, Vaibhav, I think he is asking how you identify disruptive innovation.
So, again, I'll explain myself again. So, disruptive innovations come in the picture. I'll give you the example of Netflix. When Netflix came, Netflix was a disruptive for Blockbuster. Right? When Netflix came, it approached Blockbuster as well. And why don't you acquire us? And then Blockbuster was in denial. So it's not like when disruptive innovation comes in, it's just like an entire industry. It takes it, and then on that movement, it becomes disruptive for the other industry. So I explain one more time. Netflix came, Blockbuster was in denial. And then digital media, people were also in denial. They wanted to go out. But then the train started watching Netflix killing. And then people wanted to stay back at home, have a party at home. This was the acceptability. And then with this acceptability, Blockbuster went out of the market. So this is the trend of the disruptive innovations. It's not like an atomic bomb. It's it's dropped and then everything changed.
Vaibhav, I would like to add a thing here that typically, it's, a lot of people talk about disruptive innovation, right? And one of the very good book on this is Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1, something like that. And it's very interesting, how disruptive innovation are defined. Sometimes, a hot selling product can be called a disruptive innovation, but it may not be. So I think, like you said, I just want to sort of add here that, disruptive innovation is also picking the next new trend. For example, Blockbuster should have picked, okay, eventually the internet speed will be next 20 years would be, coming to in a way that it may change the world in communication. So I think it's also sometimes to look at the things which are outside your business and also which, indirect competition. I think that will come in the next section of the presentation anyway. That was my thought. Vinod, you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, please. So before I move on this, I would like to answer Amlan's question where he asked what is the third approach or third strategy. So I mentioned about innovator approach. Then there are companies that are operating in fast follower approach, which means they are following the innovator, but they are not the first one. And then there are companies who are having an approach of say generic way of doing the business. So this you find mainly in pharmaceutical industries, where these companies work on products or APIs of which patents are expired. So those patents which are expired, there is no infringement liability, and then they take that technology and then they do business in that area. So the criticality for that business is to see and look around and prepare yourself and align yourself as to when that intellectual property is about to expire. Prepare your business strategy documents required for regulatory submitting to drug administration authorities and all those things. You start doing it in time before the expiry of the patent. So this is something where generic business comes into the picture. So this is the third generic approach I mentioned. I mean, hope you got this answer. You can type yes, no. Yeah, okay. When I sit back and analyze what would be important for me, the first question comes in my mind is who is my competitor? So the other day I was having discussion with my attorney, and I was screening for attorney position so that I'll be able to think of certain things and discuss certain matters. So he came up with the presentation that yeah, you have this portfolio, and probably X company is your competitor, Y company is your second competitor, and then yeah, third is also your competitor. So these are the top three of your competitors. I said no. First two companies are not at all our competitors. Third one is. So that's where I know who is my competitor. So looking at a patent portfolio, one might tend to mislead that from outside world that such and such company's competitor is such and such company, but that is not always the situation when you sit inside or in-house department and analyze the situation. So X company operates in a different domain, though they may have patent application filings in same IPC classification under same codes and all those things, but they may not be the competitor. So asking yourself who is the competitor is the main aspect, I will think, because then only you will start realizing how you position yourself in terms of business and as well as in IP. So you then come back to your in-house team of your R&D, your testing team, your IP team, and then find out what innovation culture am I having in my organization. So is that innovative? Like then you qualify in which category it falls. Is it fast follower approach, or is it like innovator approach, or then generic? And all these aspects you then identify where I fall. And the third aspect, which I believe would be very important, and also Vaibhav mentioned in his previous slides and presentation through various landmark case studies, that future forecast affecting the sustainability of your innovation, technology, that really affects. And believe me, it's not easy to forecast what will be coming in the future. So sometimes you may lose on opportunities, sometimes you may gain on the opportunities. But it doesn't mean that you should not stopping forecasting certain things. You can forecast, analyze the situation and take an informed decision. So I believe your competition, you yourself, and what will happen in the future. All these three aspects are very important when it comes to deciding your IP strategy.
So Vinod,
Yeah.
we have a question from one of the participants, Hemant Kulkarni. So is regional analysis of IP enforcement necessary?
Yes, this I believe, Hemant, you are asking it from FTO perspective. Yes, when it comes to generic approach, or maybe your company or organization is into generic, you try to avoid infringement, and when you are into an innovator, you try to enforce your IP. So in both of the cases, one has to analyze what IP he is encroaching upon or what IP he is having. So analysis all the time is very important, but the only point that changes in what direction and what perspective you are analyzing. That is the only change. Otherwise, analysis is applicable to all verticals, all industries, everywhere. So that aspect is always there.
So I hope this answers your question, Hemant. Okay. We have another question from Shailesh Podar. How to identify innovation culture by just looking at patent, or do you intend to conduct other searches?
Yes, patent. Sometimes I have came across few organizations. There can be exceptions to it. I have seen few organizations they do not file patent applications for the sake that they would like to keep it as a secret. The reason being is that those are all process patent applications or maybe machinery modifications that would be there in their plant, and they if they disclose, somebody else would be copying that. And if somebody else copies the process or kind of machinery modification, those enforcement of those patents would be difficult for them. So in such cases, such organizations do not file patent applications. But this trend is now changing in India and worldwide. So I would say that patent filing, number of patent filing coming from the organization is an intention of the management to prove themselves as an innovator company to the stakeholders. So that could be the change in the strategy of the organization to move from non-innovative culture to innovation culture. How sustainable that would be, or how long that will go, that you have to see over a period of time. So if you see a surge in patent filing of a particular company, they have filed 15 patent applications and subsequently no applications 4-5 years down the line. So maybe probably you have a reason to say that this is not the maybe the innovation culture was not sustained in that organization. So patent is one of the criteria indicator of the innovation culture. Yeah, Shailesh, hopefully you are satisfied with the answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have one more question from Karan Rajput. Sir, in product maturity stage, what strategy shall be used? To innovate or put it as a cash?
Considering the BCG
Considering
matrix.
the BCG matrix.
Yeah. I remember this BCG matrix because I learned in MBA, so that's fine. But this maturity of your product and how strategy, it depends on, starts from the date of filing the patent application, how you would like to design that and how you would like to go around. For example, I file a patent application, a provisional patent application, and I find that my R&D is not making enough progress on to identifying a lead molecule. So in that case, I recommend, and I have done that, and recommended the management to abandon the provisional application. So by doing that, what we do is, by earlier filing, we have secured our priority date, secured our invention. But then when you are not at a stage where you should be, then that application can be abandoned so that your final milking period is enhanced by another 1 year. So you abandon that patent application, give time to your R&D to consider and then identify lead molecule, and then there forward go ahead with that. So that would be my recommendation, to plan your strategy and your other patent applications like incremental innovations, patent of additions, all these patent law has given you various opportunities and points wherein you can evergreen your invention and all. Govind is also there, so attorneys will also be there to help you out in designing your IP strategy. So basically you have to look on what product you are looking at, what market you are looking at, and what is that you are expecting from a particular application, and how you design around your invention. So is it protected 360 degree, and that kind of it goes into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Vinod, I'll add one more point on this one. That typically, talking about BCG matrix and how to extend, basically what strategy should be on the product which have been matured. What I have seen in my experience is that what companies are typically try to do is to, like you said, incrementally do the innovation, try to combine with the newer and newer innovative products that they may have in the other zones of the matrix, and try to extend the life of that cash cow, right? I mean, end of the day, from a corporate point of view, they don't want to lose the cash cow so early, so they keep on adding incremental innovation around that. Moving on, so what I would like to summarize so far is that the first question that we have seen, that how much competitive IP strategy has been influencing company strategy, and what I think what we want to summarize is that what aspect of the competitive strategy are generally important for a company. So one is, of course, direction, what direction the world is moving, to gauge what kind of technologies, what are the things which are going and where it is going, how it is going, where it is moving slow, where it is moving fast, what are the typical advantage competition has to offer, in terms of technology or in terms of product, resources, how much resources the competition has, how the business environment, including the regulatory one, is changing the business, because I do feel that government regulations is also one of the competition, or sometimes government itself is a competition in a certain product areas. Stakeholders, what and who is making the changes in the business environment? Is it like some inventor or someone who is really disrupting or finding a newer and newer technologies? And then, one way is to also look at, what kind of competitors are doing as an IP strategy in terms of, are they offensive or are they defensive in their approach? So that is how I would summarize so far with these two aspects. I hope it is clear so far. Anything which is not clear, we can ask questions, or is it making sense so far? Give me a yes so that we can move forward.
So, Govind and Vinod, Weber, we have some more questions from Dr. Sneha. Is evergreening of invention possible?
Yeah. Should I take that, Govind?
Yes, yes,
Please go ahead.
Because I have been doing it. And yes, it is possible. So, for example, I will take an example which is not though applicable in India, like polymorph patent. So it's not applicable in India, but you can evergreen that in other countries. This is one thing. Secondly, how do you evergreen is by say in pharmaceutical or chemical domain. What we do is, first we come up with active ingredient molecule. Then we make a process patent applications to block very efficient and economic process for preparing that molecule. So once I make a molecule, I have a process patent after 3 years, and then I make a composition patent after 2 years. So basically, after I have AI molecule in my hand, I am protecting the same molecules by different means, by its way of polymorphs, or maybe by its process, or by composition, or by combination, so that I am always above the competition, offering something new in the market, and nobody else in that segment offers the same thing. So in that sense, the evergreen word should be used, and that is the only way I have been doing it. So recommending management to do in that way. Any further doubts you have, Dr. Sneha? Yeah. Maybe then.
So we have other questions as well. So maybe Vinod or Vaibhav, any of you can take it up. From Amlan, what strategy to adopt in the information and communications industry, especially when patents are filed from outside India and most of the domestic smartphone companies cannot innovate?
Shikha, can I take this one? And in interest of time, I would say that we can also close the topic, and then we can take all the questions. But I'll answer.
Yes, yes, I can.
I'll answer this one. So basically, standard essential is a very, very interesting area, especially countries like us where we are sort of looking at a lot of import of the technology. But standard essential patent is in itself is a subject where you have to really go down deep and see, okay, what are the FRAND terms of those standard essentials, and also are they really, really relevant to the standard? I think a lot of things in the industry is going on in terms of how much these standards are really, really relevant to the technology. So I think in that ways, domestic companies can fight back by doing this analysis where they have to be smart and see, okay, if a person is asking for a disproportionate amount of licensing fee, then they have to refer for, are their patent are really, really contributing to the standard or not, and how many are contributing in that ways. So I think that's one of the aspect that is relevant in this context. But Shikha, I suggest that we note the questions, all of the questions, and then we move forward.
Yes, yeah? yes, please.
Okay, so now we are coming to a very interesting, very interesting area where we will talk about, okay, how do we typically find these aspects, right? And Vaibhav, how do you typically do it in your regular role? That how do you find these competitive aspects that what we have discussed so far?
Sure. So now we are in the industry. Govind, can you just, yeah. So there are certain hypotheses and limitation what we work on. Now with COVID-19, it has changed the complete industry. The industry upended itself. It went upside down. And what we saw is the customer is in trouble. We also identified there's new form of competition which is coming in, and there's a new business model. So this aspect, it is not only applicable for the present situation, but if you see in this present scenario, that in the 21st century, these criteria and this hypothesis are very, very applicable. Can you just go to next slide, please?
Yeah.
So let's take the example of this pandemic. And my father is a retired judge. He jokingly asked me, with this pandemic, people want to survive. People just want to eat bread and butter and they want to live peacefully. So how your IP is relevant in this present situation? So, it's very interesting that every scientist and attorneys, they're working towards one particular goal. They have one common enemy, which is, I think, Govind, your presentation stopped.
Should not be the case.
Yeah, it's come back. Yeah. So during this pandemic itself, there's a study which says over 160 drugs and vaccine have been tested and the patent applications have also been filed. Next slide.
Yeah.
But which is more interesting aspect is this, that people want to work collaboratively. The attorneys, scientists, they have come together. They also started a page called opencovidpledge.org. In that pledge, they are requesting people that you take a pledge and take an oath with which you will not charge or you will not charge any royalty or make it free of charge until this pandemic is over. So, people are understanding that this is IP. Don't charge royalty. Second thing, very interesting thing, people are making medicines, but Doha Declaration is coming in the picture. Countries like Chile, Israel, they're saying pandemic is justifying that compulsory licensing should come in the picture. Next slide. So when industry is upending itself, the IP is still playing a key role. Yeah, IP is still playing. The middle one, this one.
Yeah.
So despite of having COVID and when people are hand to mouth in certain situations, people want to just survive. IP is still playing a key role in countries in a lot of jurisdiction, people who are under mission pharmaceutical they'll start making money, but no, they are also understanding the social responsibility. Now, second point, the second hypothesis I was talking about is customer being in trouble. In this pandemic, if you had to step out, you were very uncomfortable touching a bottle which is already touched by someone else and use the sanitizer. And see, this design was brought in the market in no time. So this is like a person identified there's a customer being in trouble, and this is how you come in the picture. Next slide, go on. New form of competition and new business model. The taxi and for the people who have lived in Mumbai, especially in suburbs or in town, any other area, it's very difficult to get rickshaw or taxi. Uber, when it came in when Uber for taxis, it gave a different business model. What Uber understood that if they have to patent their own technology or develop a technology, is going to take them certain time. Like they understood it's going to take them 4 years of time. So what they did, they purchased patents, they out-licensed it. They asked for license, they got number of patents, they had a tie-up with a giant like TNT, 10 patents, 66 ride-sharing patents. They equipped themselves, developed a robust technology, came in the market. Airbnb, they understood that they have to develop their market. They developed the market. 2008 they started. They waited to file the first patent. They understood that this is their area, and they have more than 15 patents granted in USA itself. They have like how to sharing room services. Couple of Indian inventors also working on that. So these are the hypotheses and limitation that how you will identify that which IP strategy you want to build, basis of your industry, basis of your customer whom you're serving, then what are the forms of competitions you are looking at, and what forms of new business model you want to generate. So these are my thoughts, Govind. Would you like to add something on that?
Sure. Thank you, Abhav. The way, I think what, from my perspective, when especially companies ask us to conduct these kind of analysis, what we have followed a process. I'll just try to share that process, and of course it's a very, very iterative process in terms of working with on these kind of analysis. And what we try to first define, like you've shared already, what are the direct competition, what are the substitute, is there's an economic competition which is going to come, technical competition which may arrive or at our door. Even sometimes customer can itself become a competition for a company by doing something which is solving their problem and not going to the company product. And again, government changing regulations or also entering certain areas also become a competition. So I think what I have seen in typical situation, how we typically find these aspects is to first define what kind of scope of competition we are looking at. Then we define a key questions like, why, what, how, where, when, and who. Basically, these are some of the questions which we sort of try to very clearly define, okay, what are we really looking at when we are trying to find these aspects. And then we define the scope of the data. A lot of times I have seen this, that when we are doing this IP strategy of a competitor discovery, we only tend to look at only patents. But what we have seen that, it is very, very important to triangulate the data that you are finding from patents or one source. So for example, if you are doing patents, maybe you also see what kind of people who are moving in the company by looking at LinkedIn's and kind of people sources, where what kind of companies that they are joining in. So let's say if you want to say that, okay, this company seems to be innovating in a certain area, then we have to also identify that are there really people who are going to join these companies or not. For example, Reliance saying that we are going to develop the 5G technology ourselves. We have to really look at, how many, scientists or how many people who are really researchers in this area are joining Reliance. That's one example, right? So, I think that is one of the very, very important aspect when we are doing these analysis, is to, of course, define the scope of data, and also from the point of triangulation, that analysis, whatever the questions that we are going to answer during the scope of the work. And very, very important that use the right tools and information. Of course, we use different patent database tools, PatSeer, and looking at PTO registers, regulatory filings, clinical trials, scientific literature. These are some of the sources where we look at, based on the scope of the data that we have defined, we try to find out the right tools and information sources by that. Because what we, as an analyst point of view, when we are taking critical business decisions, one should not only rely on a single data point and then take a bigger decisions, because that could be really, really misleading in terms of when you are making certain strategy for yourself. So that's how I would say that is my input on this. Vinod, what's your way? I mean, how do you typically do in your job? How do you do this?
Yeah. Yes. In the last aspect, I had said that your competition, you yourself, and your projection or forecast about the future. So all these three aspects which come, I have just identified as. So all these things you need to do it in the present situation now today. So for that you have to look for the information sources and where could those information would be available. So there's any single point of information. So you have to hunt for information from various sources. So I have collected a few of the information sources wherein you can collect all those pieces, arrange them in a particular order, and then sit back and look at the picture and visualize where this is going ahead. So one of the thing is using Form 16 information in India. So basically in Form 16, when there is an assignment of one patent application to the other applicant, that is licensing is to be registered at patent office. So you understand what our competitors are, who are aligned with them. So who are in collaboration with the competitors, or maybe you can also search for business opportunity of alignment if your business interest or your value chain matches with the collaborators one. So by going through this form, you will also identify that what kind of inventions are being licensed by this particular company, so that if you find that your interest matches with them, you can always approach them. That is first point, wherein you can typically uncover this IP strategy or maybe business opportunity. Second aspect is Form 27. Though this Form 27 is not fully filled correctly by all applicants, but certainly it gives you a tentative idea about how much production has happened, of what value it was, and also you will find in Form 27 if at all that particular product was out licensed to somebody else, that mention will also be there that such and such my ex subsidiary or my partner has produced this much quantity of this much value. So to this extent, this information can be made available. If you search, it may not be all the time available, but yes, do note a point to make a search there and find out whether there is any information available to you. So having identified collaborators with your competitors or business opportunity, value of the business opportunity, you then see what is that being done for a particular patent outside world. So for example, if it's being fast prosecuted speedily, then there is a consensus in your mind. You can then note down for the reason that if it is speedily been prosecuted, there is some importance attached to it. And that is the reason why the applicant or the competitor is putting on extra amount of money to get it granted. Go and hunt that area and identify any weaknesses in that area, or your interests are being affected because of that application. Sometimes you may also get a hint of competitors' business strategy through business queries. They sometimes float on some business queries. So like I do receive some business queries from business development giving that we have received such and such. Will you please look into what this competitor or a collaborator is looking into this one? So by having this input, one can always be able to reverse engineer and identify for what molecule they are particularly looking for collaboration. What are their filing trends? Filing trends in the sense of both how many applications in what area and what kind of innovations they are bringing into. And look for mergers and acquisition as recently we have seen in agrochemical industry that many companies have now rearranged themselves through mergers and acquisitions. Bayer Crop Science acquiring Monsanto, a big company, Syngenta being acquired by Chem China, Dow and DuPont being merged to form Corteva. So all these realignment, mergers and acquisitions all have affected the business. So if you would have seen these, all intellectual property being reassigned, realigned. So in all this situation, many few companies, small companies in terms of their overall turnover and marketing capabilities and distribution supply chain. So all those companies who were ready for this opportunity have gained from this mergers and acquisition for the reason that these big companies had to divest certain type of business to other companies in order to acquire another business because of anti-competitive law. And that's the reason very small companies who were ready and for this opportunity grabbed that opportunity and have gained handful of experience. Like BSF also gained some, like New Pharma also gained something from mergers and acquisitions. So being aware of such mergers and acquisitions also gives you a time to get ready for yourselves to grab. Last point, I have find that friendly talks with your ex-colleagues, maybe it may be from any industry or any organization. When you talk, a certain amount of unspecific information can always be taken up from them with due respect to the confidentiality. But yes, you are likely to get some hint there. So you can use all this kind of approaches to typically uncover this, uncover to certain extent, and then to complete the picture, then you hypothesize that these are the dots I have found, then connect them, and then complete the picture, and then sit back and see how your business strategy or IP strategy should be, and then make a proposal to the management, and then go ahead. That's so yeah. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, in interest of time, we have to go a little fast. So let's, so please continue.
Yeah. So typically what I have found is, maybe you can run to the second slide itself, challenges for uncovering IP strategies. So first and foremost challenges is 18 months of cooling period application. So it was always a challenge for me to take a call, how do I uncover or what my competitor is doing. So many times it was like that my IP is gone to somebody else just because I filed my application 3 months down after my competitor has filed the application. So it happened with me for 2-3 times, and it happened to my competitor because of my filings also. So, but then you can always look at the product launches or maybe other subsequent mergers and acquisitions that are news coming in the market. So from there you can try to always make a point that something is happening in this area. Second challenge in this area is a series of patent applications. So which Farzana also mentioned and question about this. Farzana, this is always a typical challenge wherein there are multiple patent applications are filed covering multiple priority days. So IP strategy may be uncovered, but it will be always to certain incorrectness. So in that case, what one has to do is to find out actually in which patent application and filed on that particular priority date where your product or interest lies in, and you catch one one of that application as your competitor application and design around that one. So identifying one of the key patents from these multiple priority filed patent applications would be the key, and from there you build on to design around those patent applications. That would be the way I would be suggesting. Yeah, that's from my side. Vaibhav, you would like to add on?
Yeah. So couple key challenges is like you also mentioned is that unpublished information, and that always been a challenge. But second interesting thing is that companies failed not because they were complacent, but they tried to overreach. They tried to do something which go beyond their capacity. Exception is like, for example, Motorola. Motorola was facing problems with the Japanese technology, and then they tried to work towards it, like how Japanese is having a zero error. So they set a target for themselves for 5 years. In 5 years, they were not able to reach their target. What they did, they extended target by 2 years. And this is like when you not try to overreach, but if you keep extending it, then you'll be able to achieve your targets. The first point, which is mentioned, like know everything. Now, you can get all the database. You can have all the information, but you are not in position to know everything. It's not possible. Another way, what you could do is that, as Vinod mentioned, I'll just take it from there. You need to understand what is your core. You need to know everything of something. Take that core and build upon that. And that's something you can work on that. But these three challenges in any industry, like Westmith international conglomerate, we work in home textiles, we are in a pipe business, we have patents in steel also. But when we find out, like when we want to have a patent, and we face these challenges. So I would say that there is no perfect answer that how we will get the strategy correct, and this has been our experience. Govind, you're a service provider to that. What has been your experience?
Sure. Thank you, Vaibhav and for summarizing the challenges. And of course, what I have seen in most of the time, as I said earlier, that sometimes we want to avoid working on a half knowledge, and we want to triangulate a lot of things. And a lot of times, what I sort of try to put as a very, very simple mantra about this is that, context is more important than the content. Sometimes we get hung up on a certain chart or a certain, single trend that, something which is showing up in a certain chart or a certain analysis or a single data point, that, we tend to lose the, bigger picture of the question or a hypothesis that we have created. So my take on this as a challenge is to, of course, put the right things in the right context. I know, that, okay, you look at certain chart, and then you think about, okay, what and how it is more relevant to the scope. I mean, just for example, innovation activity, what is the different context other than the showing a dip trend? Sometimes people, we just say, okay, there is a dip in the trend. It looks like they have stopped innovating. But it could be that they have already innovated. Now they are sort of, incrementally innovating, or so, things like that has to be very, very, contextual. These are some of the very common innovation, competitive charts or, analysis that people usually conduct. Shailesh also mentioned in the chat that classification could be a way to identify whether they are diversifying. Definitely it is, but we have to also at some point have to really go down to the level of patents and look at what they are really claiming, because classifications are sometimes not accurate in a way that you will really uncover what they are thinking in their head, right? So I think that is what I would say, that one of the bigger challenges sometimes to put these things in the context. I mean, some examples that I've seen from different databases. I mean, I took it from PatSeer 360 that we have all these charts, but it is very, very important to sort of understand the context. What is the hypothesis that we have done? When there is a citation, patent citation and backward and forward citation has been very common metric in lot of analysis. So my take on is that yes, it is definitely a quantitative aspect of having a big picture, but without validating, you can say that I have uncovered the competitive IP strategy. It is not. And as a service provider, or working with a lot of corporates, as helping them with this data collection, and also working on their sort of objectives, I think it is a very collaborative and very sometimes industry. I'm sure Vaibhav and Vinod, you would support me on this, that as a person who is outside, let's say a person who is good in information gathering cannot always tell you what's inside in your industry. So I think a lot of times your prudence on your inside knowledge, or the tacit knowledge, so to say, around the topic is really something which really uncovers the IP strategy. So the crux of the matter is that data is very important, triangulation of the data is very important, but setting up the context with the right sort of with the right sort of knowledge is very, very important in terms of doing this analysis and really uncovering your competitive strategy. So that's what I mean. These are some of the charts I've seen. I've liked these charts, but as I said, it's always good to look at what is behind this data, behind these charts, because it really helps you in really putting things together in a more actionable manner than having a pretty picture and doing that. So that's my take on this topic, on this aspect. Vaibhav and Vinod, over to you, and to audience. We are 4 minutes extra, but we have started 5 minutes. So I think as a panel moderator, I feel I have achieved something today. So thank you panelists for helping me do that.
So thank you everyone. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you Govind, and thank you all the audience for patiently hearing us. So we would like to move to any questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. You can unmute yourselves. So I know it's been a bit late. Okay.
Shikha, Dr. Sneha here.
Hi, Dr. Sneha.
Yeah, I would like to take more insights about evergreen from Sir, whether as he correctly pointed out, that it is possible in case of polymarks. Is there any another area where such evergreening is possible? And if it is possible in any area in India, I would like to know that specifically as well.
So, yeah. So, first of all, let us understand what evergreening means actually. So, evergreening is like you have only one invention, or maybe a kind of invention, and then you protect it over a period of time which legally is not allowed. For example, as in pharmaceutical industry or APIs, where some molecules are being innovated, so those molecules are first protected in their AI patent applications. Those are called active ingredient patent applications. So those are compound patents. So you get one priority date, and then from 20 years from then, that invention is protected. So basically, what other companies do, they align their own processes, and they file their more economic process, say 2-3 years down the line. So of making the same AI patent, AI molecule. So from AI, you won't be able to actually identify what is the exact molecule, and then you align your strategy in such a way that just before you disclose your exact molecule to the world, you have filed your process patent application. So you have protected your active ingredient, and then you waited for an opportunity or particular time period, 3-4 years. It usually takes 3-4 years. That is the reason why I am taking it in chemical industry, and as well as maybe in pharmaceutical. Pharmaceutical, it may take some more time. So then you wait for an appropriate time period. Just before you announce your active ingredient to the world, you file a process patent application. So you then have protected AI, then process application 5 years. So basically, even if your AI patent application expires in 2014, a process for making that compound will expire in 2045. So basically, even if your AI application is not there, enforceable in 2041, you have effectively protected your AI molecule by blocking the way to go to that molecule in an economic way. So that's the one thing. Secondly, when you go ahead in the down, so you need formulations and combinations. So these are another tools that may or may not be required to be implemented. Sometimes they are required to be implemented. That depends on the area, operational area you are in. So if at all they are required, then you file your composition patent application wherein that active ingredient is delivered effectively to the target site. So that composition patent you file in say 2030. So delivery of that application, even if your AI application is expired, even if a person is able to now copy your process, but they will not be able to deliver that product in a composition to the customer. You will be always having an edge because you have the top composition which effectively delivers that compound to the target site. This is one thing. So basically 2040 was your date of expiry of you extended it to 2050. Now by implementing another strategy of combination patents, you come up with the combination of one compound plus another compound, and they say that these two compounds are synergy, creating a kind of synergy and protecting say 2035, and that patent will get expired in 2055. So your AI basically, which was to be unprotected after 2040, is now, however, by my strategic alignment and arrangement, I am able to somehow, to the certain extent, able to protect it till 2055. So this is also one way of companies are arranging themselves, and this particularly is operable in agrochemical industry where processes are very important, and in pharmaceutical industry where combinations and compositions are critical for the delivery of the compound. Hopefully, I am able to answer your question.
Yes, sir, very much in detail. Thank you. And sir, is it possible in India? Because I believe evergreening is.
Yes. In India, all strategies, whatever I have mentioned, people are following in India, EP, Europe, name any country, it's similar. But in India, for combination, you need to show that synergy exists for the combination.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinod. So we have Hemant wants to know the IPC benefits and drawbacks while structuring search techniques. So I request one of you to please take up this question.
Or I can take it.
Yeah, please go in. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hemant, in my experience, IPC is, of course, very good when in terms of searching and making sure that you are not missing any keywords, right? I mean, no matter, in my experience, no matter how much you do, sometimes you tend to forget one or two keywords anyways. And so IPC is like a very, very good way to sort of make sure that even if you miss some keywords, there is something to back you up for that missing keyword. But at the same time, basing your strategy only on IPC is also not a good idea, because what I've seen in my experience is that, even examiners make mistakes in putting IPC's class on their patents. So you tend to miss a lot of important patents if you don't have a keyword strategy as well. So what benefits is definitely that you are able to safeguard if you're missing something as a keyword by using IPC. The drawback is, I don't see any drawback using IPCs in a certain search unless you are going very broad. The only drawback I would say that if you are using it without using keywords or in isolation only, that may be a little incomplete in that ways, right? That is my view on using IPCs as a search strategy. Is it making sense? Anything that you would like to add on?
Govind, can I add a bit of it on IPC?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Please.
One experience, I'll share my experience with IPC. So basically, me and my friend Prashant were working on one FTO molecule from pharmaceutical industry, and we through our keyword strategy, we identified few patents which we thought are now we are having all relevant information there. But then we decided to have an IPC. Then that wasn't in our scenario to conduct the IPC search. But just to have a full-fledged strategy, we launched this IPC search in PatSeer. PatBase was there. Tushar, if you could, he was with PatBase then. But now we conducted that search in their that database. And you want to comment something, Tushar? Yeah. Yeah. Then we identify one patent application from CIPLA, wherein this particular patent application, compounds of this application was falling under that claims, and there was an infringement happening there. So that changed our opinion completely. But this could be such critical IPC. But then, Hemant, one should always be very clear to select the IPC class for searching. So it depends on nitrogen bonding attachment, heterocycles, then type of its attachment, sulfur containing compounds. So all such IPCs should be critically evaluated before you start searching them. So that's where it is coming from. So selection of IPC in your search is the first correct selection, and all selection is very important when it comes to IPC searches. Yeah, that's all from my side.
So thank you, Vinod and Govind. I hope Hemant, it answers your question. If you would like to discuss further, you can unmute yourself. Okay, great. So if anyone has any other question, we can take it up, or else I think it's time to wrap up the session. So thank you all for making this session a wonderful session.